All right, so in this video, we are going to talk about solving quadratic equations by square rooting. So if you don't know how to simplify radicals, you might want to go back and review that because that'll be necessary when you're square rooting. But the best equations that would be a good candidate to solve by square rooting would be equations that can be written in the form ax squared plus c equals 0. Notice there's no b term, there's no linear term. When there is no b term, that means the equation would be a good candidate to solve by square rooting. So let's look at a very simple equation. I have x squared equals 49. Every positive number has two square roots. So if I take the square root of both sides, I have to put a plus or minus in front of the 49. So I have the square root of x squared equals plus or minus the square root of 49. So my answer will be x equals plus 7 or x equals negative 7. Or you can write it as x equals plus or minus 7. You can plug that into the equation and you can see it's true because positive 7 squared is 49, but negative 7 times negative 7 is also 49. So go ahead and put the video on pause and see if you can do these. Let's see if you got them right. So number 2 is plus or minus 2 square root of 10. Again, don't forget your plus or minus. Right? If I square root both sides, I get plus or minus the square root of 40. Then, of course, you have to simplify the square root of 40. Number 3, did you get plus or minus 2 square root of 2? Right? On this one, you need to isolate the term that has the square in it. So you're going to add 5 to both sides. Then you still have to get that square term alone, so you're going to divide by 3. And then when you take the square root of both sides, you get plus or minus the square root of 8, which you need to simplify. Let's try this one. So first you want to multiply by 3 to get rid of that fraction. So I'll have 2x squared plus 6x squared equals 12. I'm going to combine my like terms, divide by the 8 to get the x squared term alone, take the square root of both sides, not forgetting my plus or minus. But now what I have is the square root of 3 over the square root of 2, so I have a radical in the denominator. So I need to rationalize that denominator by multiplying by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. So my answer will be x is plus or minus the square root of 6 over 2. Okay, put the video on pause and try these. Did you get that one right? So you're going to isolate the term that is squared. So now you've got x minus 2 squared. That whole quantity is squared. So you're going to isolate the square by dividing by 3. Now when I square root both sides, I'll have x minus 2 on the left-hand side and plus or minus 3 on the right-hand side. So in essence, I have to set up two equations now. I have to say x minus 2 equals positive 3 or x minus 2 equals negative 3. And when I solve them separately, I get x equals 5 or x equals negative 1. Number 6, did you get that one right? Again, you need to isolate the square by dividing by negative 2. You're going to square root both sides, not forgetting your plus or minus. You're going to simplify your radical and then subtract the 6.